right. Well, welcome everyone. This is PWN's Level Up at Lunch for September. This is our monthly meeting held via Zoom on the third Thursday of every month. So today our featured speaker is Krista Beavers, founder of Guardian Accounting. Welcome, Krista. Welcome, everybody. And we're going to hear what she has to share with us a little bit later. Now, so for those of you who are watching the PWN YouTube channel, be sure and click like and subscribe. So I want to send some thank yous out to people. Thank you to our September sponsor, Carrie Ascension of Keys to Empowerment. Hi, Carrie. She's here with us today. She helps us be the queen of our destiny. Also, thank you to Stephanie Shields, the CEO of Bookkeeping Central, for taking care of our PWN bookkeeping. And a big thank you and shout out to Jody Royer of Magic Mind Marketing, our tech wizard who is always working to help keep BWN things running smoothly behind the scenes. Well, I think we're ready to go on to our featured speaker today. Katerina, would you like to introduce her?
Yes, I would, of course. I am blissing for our fabulous presenter today, Krista Beavers. As you all know, Krista is one of our most beloved members of PWN. She is on our board. She is also the founder of Guardian Accounting. And Krista has been empowering women entrepreneurs and other entrepreneurs with her custom system, Dress Your Business for Success, for quite a while. And we are very lucky today because she's going to bring her insights to us. And these insights are great for solopreneurs, startups, even those of you that might be running a corporation. Krista, give us some of your insights to dress our business for success. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Katerina. I appreciate the really kind words. And all right, let me share my screen real quick. So hello, welcome again. I am Krista Beavers, and I am the creator of Dress Your Business for Success. So I just want to kind of ask a couple questions. How many of you guys own a business? All right. How many of you want to start a business? I think most of us have it here. All right, how many of us have ever struggled in our business? I even have, and this is what I do for a living. How many of you really know where all your cash goes at the end of the day? Sometimes I have that problem too. How many of you actually don't pay yourself? How many of you are actually not using software and are still paper and penning it? Utilizing the technology is super important in 2024. All right, one more big question. How many of you are commingling? Co-meaning, meaning personal business coming through. Did you guys know that 90% of startup businesses fail in the first year? It's one of the biggest things. I will say at my 10th year, Chase Bank gave me a call and said, congratulations on 10 years. That's a feat, particularly in California. And I was like, amen. And I would say that 70% of those business statistics say actually close within years 2 to 5. So if you guys have been around kicking it that long, bravo, because it's not an easy thing to do, particularly in our current economy. But today I do want to share my number one secret to success with you guys all. I got lots of little things I'm going to share. But number one, we're going to hit this commingling. Do not commingle business and personal. So I know most of you did not raise your hand at this, but it is probably the number one problem that I see when small businesses come into my office with help. What you're really doing when you're commingling is two things. If you're a corporation, you have now burst that corporate veil which you created, becoming an S Corp or an LLC. You took that personal protection of your business and you just tossed it down in the garbage can. One of the reasons of doing that is if something happens, you cannot personally be held liable. But I will say, I have seen many college tuitions paid out of your business. I've seen many daycare bills being paid out of the business. I've seen all your grocery trips to Save Mart, Whole Foods. They're getting paid out of the business. And right there, you're no longer protecting, creating that segregation. And so what you're also doing is really undervaluing how much profit your business makes. A lot of people say, oh, I'm reducing my profitable income. And yes, you are. And most likely, you probably won't get caught with that. But when you go back and look, how much am I actually making from my business? You're not able to tell. You've got all the personal things running through it. Additionally, when you go back through, how much money do I need to make to survive? Again, you're unable to tell because you don't know how much you need with half of it coming through your business. Those are really not deductible expenses. You probably end up spending more time by your CPA pulling those out. So I do highly recommend get your own business account, get your own checking account, personal checking, business checking, keep things separate. That way you really can see how much profit does your business make, so you can actually pay yourself what you need to survive. Any questions or thoughts or concerns on that section before we roll over? Cool. All right, and please pop up your hand if you have any questions here. All right, so I'm going to give you my top 3 tips and strategies. First up, I'm going to tell you I started Guardian Accounting 10 years ago. Well, actually 13 years ago. I worked at a CPA firm. I thought I wanted to be a CPA. Was that not the most boring thing I ever did in my life? It was a snore fest. But what I did find is that they would bring a box of all those receipts. I know each and every one of you have been there once upon a time where it's just a shoe box or a storage box or a moving box or a big tub of receipts. I went through it, I compiled all that information and created the financial statements. And once I did that, I went, oh man, if they only did this, or they would have done that, or could have done that, we could have ended up saving them a lot of tax money. And that's when I realized, hey, I know what I want to do. I want to be a CFO for hire for those individuals and businesses that really do need one, but not one full time. Hence, 13 years ago, I started Guardian Accounting, and now I work with clients throughout the US. I am only US based, but crossed the city lines or state lines, I should say, probably 7 years ago, and I never looked back. But I have walked in each one of your high-heeled shoes before. I've been the startup business. I have made some errors in what I've done along the way. I've seen my clients make some errors along the way. And that's really why I created the Dress Your Business for Success system, so I could really help break that learning curve down. So it didn't take us 3 to 5 years to actually make a profit. We could start making that in year 1 and year 2. So what I'm going to hit off again, my top 3 tips and strategies. So number 1, understanding your cash flow. And most of you did raise your hand. You really don't know where it's all going. Pretty understandable. We've all been there on that. But one of the biggest things I do see come in is deposits do not always equal income. Something I've seen in the software is a client has a bank account and they also have a PayPal account. Well, some sales went into PayPal, some go into their checking account. They transferred that. Oh, I deposited that money. It's sales. It's not sales. You just moved money, but makes your profitability look better, but it also makes you more taxable income. So really overestimating how much income you did generate in that month, that quarter, or that year. I've seen it at times too, where more in the startups, they'll get a loan from their mother or a family member to really help get that cost. That deposit goes in. End of the year, they've included that $5,000 into income, and it's not. So really keeping an eye on what those deposits are running through your business. Are you loaning up? Or did you get a tax refund from the prior year and now you're claiming that as taxable income? Did a client return a product or you return a product and that deposit goes through? You'd be surprised how often I have found clients automatically assume a deposit is income and they're really overvaluing what it is that their business did that month. Any questions on this section here? All right, you guys are awfully quiet in the room. With what else goes to understanding your cash flow? That's tip number 2. It's now understanding your expenses. So many of you will probably say, yeah, I pretty much know a lot of my expenses. And I know Carrie's probably seen this a few times in all that she's done. But you start looking through those credit card transactions or those bank statements every month. Can you tell me how many subscriptions you're currently paying for that you have no idea what you're paying for? $9.99, $14.99, $29.99. Could be monthly, could be annually. Oh, I really did mean to get rid of that 6 months ago when I didn't. Well, you need to understand what you're actually paying for, but if you're not reviewing it, you don't know about it. So another huge example is I had a marketing and website company, and she loved her team. She was a great boss. She still is a great boss. Let me say she still is a great boss. But she had an office manager who had a card and would just buy everything. And office supplies was really getting out of control. I'll come back and I start digging into it. A lot of times they're going to Office Max or Sam's Club or Costco, but really Office Max. That was easier to kind of hide. Ultimately, when we got the receipts and backed that up, she almost every week was spending $100 just on coffee creamer. Coffee creamer for everybody and every flavor that you could think of. Well, that's a lot of money that adds up very quickly. Fortunately, they have to bring their own coffee creamer in, and it's probably amazing how much little they go through now that it's not free. But it's one of those things that really can sneak up and compound on you quickly if you're not looking at your expenses. Nobody really understands you don't want to pay for their 5 different flavors or, good treat for themselves. So really looking at your expenses. At a minimum, you want to be looking at them quarterly, if not monthly. But you don't want that surprise at the end of the year with the big box that went, oh my gosh, I just spent $1,000 on coffee creamer. All right, any questions with the expenses? I know some of this stuff can be kind of boring, but it is really important. All right, so we are gonna roll over. Oh yeah, here's my little tip. Where are you really needing to spend your money? If you're trying to grow your business, don't need to be spending it on coffee creamer. You probably want to go put that into marketing. Get you a little further. Generates revenue versus costing you revenue on that one. All right, and then with that though, I do have little practical steps for you guys to do. Make a list of those business expenses and break them into categories. A lot of times, again, you'll have those dues and subscriptions, but are they software related? Are they meeting related? Are they continuing education related? What expenses are actually needed within your office supplies? Even look at your rent. Sometimes you might have the most gorgeous building. I had it myself. I was paying $5,000 a month for a great office in Fresno that nobody ever came to see me. Not a single one. I maybe got 1 or 2 clients a month. Year ago, went home, work out of my house now, none the wiser. I maybe have a client that wants to see me in person once or twice a month now. So really a great savings for myself and really revamped my bottom line on those expenses. So review them, see if they're necessary, and then define those priorities. Now, if my clients were coming in to see me every day, probably needed to get an office, but they were not. So I didn't. But what I do have to pay is a lot of money for different software to ensure that now that I am more remote than ever, that I have that ability to transfer information, receive that information, plus keep the security of that information at top notch. Any questions on how to handle this? All right, then we're gonna hit number 3. And number 3 is understanding your business operations. Now I'm gonna tell you, this is one I've really gotten myself into in trouble over the years, but understanding what you need versus what you want. This one is a little difficult because some of us really want that really, really gorgeous new website. But is it what we need? Some of us really, really want that fancy car. But is it what we need? Really evaluate the expenses that are within your business between a want and a need. What is going to generate revenue and what is costing me revenue? A lot of the times people say, I need help, but I can't afford it. Well, you may not be able to afford not to hire the help any longer because you can't keep excelling if you don't have the people or the team behind you to help do that. We are an expert at the thing. I'm not an expert at marketing. I am not an expert at writing. I am not an expert in the legal world, but I have all those people behind me to ensure that what I do stays legal, that my message stays clear, and that I'm able to keep business generated within what I do. So really understanding those definition of what do I need to run my business and what do I want for my business. We could all get the really nice office space with the beautiful couch and the great front room, but like myself, I didn't need that any longer. So I eliminated it from my business. Any questions in that area? All right, you guys, I've never been in such a quiet room. I must be so good at explaining this stuff. Anyway, I am available now if you guys have any questions, but you guys just seem to not have anybody. But if you guys are interested, there is the QR code to Dress Your Business for Success. It is my DIY program. Really takes you through the closet system, which is cash, liabilities, overhead, sales, expenses, and taxes. Takes you into each of those distinct areas of your business so you can better understand them and ensure you don't get yourself in any trouble. Because you don't know what you don't know. And unfortunately, as business owners, a lot of times we learn those lessons the hard way. Katerina, I saw you had a question, my dear.
Hi, my friend. Okay, I have a question, but first I want to say, I remember one day I was at one of my trainings and I looked by the coffee and we had 6 different kinds of milk. And so there are sometimes like things you're like, milk, you think of 1, you don't think of 6. And sometimes expenses do creep up on us, like what you said about the subscriptions. So many people are using subscriptions that they have forgotten about or are no longer good for their business.
Correct.
So what do you feel are some of the things that with your clients that you've encountered that they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that's going on in my business?
Well,
for us to look for.
Well, if you've got employees, one of the big ones is watching the overtime. That really is costly and sneaks up on you quickly. If you're not monitoring, a lot of times we just want the job done, but we don't realize what it costs to get that job done and maybe an unreasonable expectation. The other 2 big areas, as I mentioned already kind of in talking, is your office supplies and your dues and subscriptions. Those are 2 areas I hit quickly to figure out, and I usually save my clients a lot of money just in those 2 areas, going through and understanding what they really need. I'm gonna give you a good example on one. 90% of us own a Microsoft subscription, right? We have Microsoft Office, we have Microsoft Excel, Outlook, but did you guys know that there's Teams in there? And that Teams replaces a Slack subscription that you're probably paying twice for. It also has a FaceTime, which you're paying a Zoom subscription for. So right there within your team, you can cut 2 subscriptions out utilizing what you already own, but most people don't know about. So going through those areas, Katerina, that for most, those are the first 2 areas, subscriptions and office supplies. Because I have seen it where your front office girl loves every gel pen in every color. You can get those herself.
Thank you. Jody, could you take us off speaker view? Because I want to ask if anybody else has any questions and if we can see any hands.
Stop to share, that might help you there.
Great, because any other questions or my friends, this is the moment. Get some VIP advice from Krista. Jody.
Yeah, so sometimes, and this just happened to me, I deposited a check into my personal account thinking I was depositing it into my business account, and then I realized it went into the wrong account, so then I just moved the money and made a note. Is that good enough?
It is good enough. I'm actually surprised that your bank actually cashed it because they shouldn't have, unless your business name is Jody Royer.
It
They should.
is.
Okay. Because in most cases, like in mine, they would not have cashed it. Guardian accounting is not Krista. But yes, you can make that. And just so you note, the IRS will literally, most people are like, hey, I don't want to e-file. I don't want them to direct deposit into my bank account, have my number. They have it. They know it. And when an IRS comes through and audit you, they've got all your bank deposits already listed out. And you have to go back and prove why you didn't claim XYZ as a income. So in your case, you can easily show, hey, I made this deposit. You're gonna make errors sometimes. We've all been there and done that. It's just able to show why you did something that you did in error. Making your mortgage payment or paying your kids' college tuition, those warrant an accidental error. And again, that's where you get into piercing that corporate veil.
How about separate credit cards?
Oh, yes, you should get a business credit card. One, it helps create business credit for your business. So if you ever do need to go get like a line of credit for accounts receivable, you're starting to build that credit. Additionally, if you run into a little bit of a cash flow issue and you're not getting that credit card paid off regularly, if it's in the business name, that doesn't affect your personal credit. So you'd find there's a bit of perk to having both within there. Teresa.
I think the biggest thing you've helped us with is getting everything ready for the CPA. Because a lot of us think, okay, we have a CPA or we have a tax person here, here's my stuff. And yeah, we did a pretty good job. I think it's good. But it could be really a lot of hidden mess in there that Krista can find. And then the CPA is able to give you a lot better tax deductions, know what he's doing, have things explained. And Krista does that with your CPA too. She'll go and explain certain things that they might not have in their mind because she knows, she comes in remotely on your books and can really check things out. You don't have to go and meet her. That's why she got rid of her office. She doesn't have to do that anymore. So it's very simple to be able to do that. And, you never know, she could pay for herself by what you save in taxes.
Well, thank you for that, Teresa. And you brought up a good point. Your CPAs are really good at tax preparation. If your CPAs are helping you prepare those financials, you're not doing yourself a lot of justice. One, they cost twice as much, usually per hour, than I do. But your bookkeepers, those are really good about entering that data, but not reconciling, reviewing, or analyzing it. And that's where getting that middle person, your accountant, your CFO within your business is just tremendously helpful. They know enough, usually. We know enough how to guide, and we know when we don't know, and we go and ask the CPAs for that additional guidance. Like, hey, we're hitting a limit over here. What do you suggest we do for accelerated depreciation? But we help navigate in those different areas to where you want to strategize to take your business to that next level. So definitely start with the bookkeeper, get yourself a good CPA. And then once you're ready, I highly do recommend that middle person of the CFO because they really do save you more than they end up costing you in tax revenue at the end of the year. The CPAs are just going to take whatever you put on that number. They're not going to actually question any of it. Make sure it's coded correctly and make sure it's accurate. Well, thank you all very much. I appreciate each and every one of you. And if you have any questions, just please reach out.
Thank you, Krista. You make accounting fun and alluring. Wonderful. Bing, bing. Okay, my friends, turning it back over to you, Julianne.
All right. Thank you so much, Krista. That was awesome. And by the way, Krista is currently serving as our treasurer for PWN. So I couldn't ask for a better person to help out with that. So, all right. Well, thank you, everyone. And with that, we're going to stop recording and we will see you next month, if not sooner.